Hello, I'm Lewis Martin, product specialist with Martrest Manufacturing. Today I'm going to walk you through your settings and adjustments when setting up your brand new Bale bearing. So I'm going to talk about the bales first. And the reason I'm going to focus in on the bales is it's the most important thing when it comes to your bundle quality. I always say a good consistent bale makes a good quality bundle, and the same holds true for a poor quality bale. You make a sloppy loose bale, you're going to get a sloppy loose bundle. So to dial in your baler and know where your bale length is supposed to be, we supply each and every machine with a bale length gauge. And there's two settings on this gauge. You've got a 32-inch setting between this bar and this setting here, and you've got 35 inches between here and here. To measure the bales, you'd get baling in the field, bale about 5 or 6 bales, come out, flip the bales on their side, and just measure over the top. You can see this bale length gauge fits over this bale at 32 inches perfectly. You'd measure all 5 and take an average. If they're all this length, keep baling and you're good to go. It's good to periodically check your bale length during the field, just in case you speed up or something changes on the balers. Once you've got your length set, dial in your weight. The industry standard is about 45 to 50 pounds on a bale of hay, but I can see that vary depending on your market, and that's fine. As long as your length is correct, your bale length or your bale weight can vary a bit. So now that we've talked about the bale length and the importance thereof and the quality of the bale and making a good firm bale, we're going to get into the settings on the bale bearing. Before we do that though, I'm going to point out the operator's manual. It's located inside this front door here, and it's inside an operator's manual holder, which is sealed, so there's no chance it's going to get ruined from weather or oil or anything like that. Just open that up, and what I really want to point out is the safety section in this operator's manual, and it's located in the front portion of this book. Read this whole book, but really pay attention to the safety section. While I'm on safety, good practice is to pull the key out of the ignition and put it in your pocket before you work on the machine, and that'll prevent anybody from starting the tractor while you're in the machine. Just a fail safe. So yeah, go through this manual, read it front to back. There's a lot in here. Setting up your baler, setting up all the settings on the bale bearing, and there's a fairly detailed troubleshooting section in here as well. Right back into the knotter, we get fairly detailed in knotter setup, troubleshooting, parts breakdown, so on and so forth. And keep this with the machine. Keep it in here. It doesn't do you a whole lot of good if it's in your shop 100 miles away from where you're baling and you need the manual. Again, it's a sealed box, so don't worry about it getting water damage, and keep it with the machine. So let's talk about hooking your bale bearing up to your tractor. First thing you're going to want to do is back the tractor up to the machine and drop your pin into your hitch. Pretty straightforward. Make sure you've got a safety clip on that pin so you prevent the pin from dropping out. While we're down here, hook your safety chain up to the tractor, and it's adjustable for length back here. So just make sure you've got it short enough it's not dragging on the ground, and if you ever do lose your pin, you're not gonna rip your hoses and wreck your wires. The other thing to do, plug your PTO shaft into the tractor. It's a 1000 RPM shaft, 21 spline. Get that locked in place, and then this chain on this PTO guard, make sure you hook it off onto the PTO guard on the tractor. That prevents damage to that chain, and it'll keep this guard from spinning. And there's one on the back side as well, and we just hook it off to the tongue wherever you can comfortably hook that off. Another thing we're going to talk about is the 3-point hitch linkage arms. If they're not positioned right, you're going to damage your guarding on your PTO shaft. So this one I've raised up all the way, and it's high enough that when you turn sharp, they're never going to hit the PTO shaft. If you can't get it high enough, drop them down all the way, so there's no chance you're going to damage that PTO guard. It only takes one sharp turn for you to damage the shielding. We've got 2 sets of remotes we need to operate the pickup models, and they're color coded. We've got blue and we've got red. Red stands for your pickup lift and lower, and blue stands for your tongue swing in and out, so to move the bearing left and right. And we've got 1 and 2 zip ties, and what that means is 1 stands for your pressure and 2 is for your return. So in this instance with the red zip ties, if you give this pressure, it'll lift the pickup, and this will lower the pickup. Same rules apply for your tongue swing. This will bring the machine out, and that'll bring it back in. Moving up, our light kit, that's just your standard 6 connector plug. That's North American. European is obviously a different plug. They ship with the right plug on them. And then this tractor has factory isobus in it. So just hook your isobus plug into that port on your tractor. There's a nice little lever here that removes that dust cover, and then that just plugs into place. Shove it in, and then clip it into place with that lever to just prevent that from pulling out. If your tractor doesn't have isobus, we sent you a cab control that has this hookup. Mount that on the tractor somewhere on the back so it's rigid. Don't just have it hanging around. And then lastly is this tongue swing release rope. Just drag it up into the cab, and then when you go to swing your machine out, pull on that, that'll release the lock pin, and you can swing that Barrett out to the side. First thing we're going to talk about is the roller chute. All the machines ship with the roller chutes up, so to lower that, quite simple, just pull the safety clips off the pins, one on the left and the right. Next, grab a hold of the roller chute with your arm, and then just pull both pins. Now it is spring loaded, so it's not very heavy, but there's still a bit of weight there. So just be aware of that. You can see there the springs have the complete weight of the chute. And then it's important to reinstall the pins in the bottom section. Just put them back into the corresponding holes, and that'll prevent the roller chute from going too high during the auto cycle, and it'll prevent the gates from catching on the roller chute. Once the pins are in, just reinstall a safety clip. Again, put them both in so you don't lose them. For accessibility at the back of the machine, we can open these end gate shields. And the way to do that is there's just a button under the ladder here. You press it in and just pull it open until you hear that latch stop drop into place. Now we can get into our end gates. Same for the other side. Both of them swing open, so we've got lots of room to work in here. So while we're at the back of the machine, we're gonna adjust the end gates. They always ship on the loosest setting. There's 4 different adjustments. So obviously your loosest, and then as you progress these end gates to the center of the machine, it tightens up the pack. And where I normally set them is on the second tightest hole. That's fairly good for nice, perfectly tight bundles. To move these end gates, just undo the safety clip from the pin. If you grab a hold of the gate with your hand, you can lift up on it, and that just takes the pressure off the pin, and the pin will slide out. And then I just start with the bottom, slide that into position, and that pin drops right in, and then do the same at the top. Pull the pin, move it in, line up that hole, and then just drop the pin into place. Typically, if your bales are 32, 33 inches, bundles are going to be nice and tight, and your plunger is going to be able to compress that bundle at the second tightest hole. If in ideal conditions, or if you're making a little bit lighter bales, you might be on the tightest setting and you'd probably be okay with it. The indication that these gates need to move out is if the plunger is compressing the bundle before the tie cycle and it stalls out, and you get an alarm message saying the plunger has stalled out. If that continues to happen on you, either your bales have grown in length or the density of them has increased, and now we have to back the gates out to allow that plunger to come in and compress that bundle. And again, same process, lift the gate, just move it back one hole at a time until that plunger starts working again, and you know you're set right. Ultimately, tighter the better because you have firm packs, they fit in van trailers better, but we do have a bit of adjustment here in case you need it. I'm going to talk about our chamber top. It's floating, and that allows you to take the pressure off of a bundle if you have to extract it from the Barrett. It's not something you do all the time, but if you're wanting to leave all the hay with that field and you got to pull that bundle out of the machine, then you can just take the pressure off the chamber top. And the way to do that is grab a hold of this lever and pull this pin and the one on the other side, and then you just push this pin down. Make sure you got a good hold on it so it doesn't hit you in the face, and then just align the pin into the receiving point when it's all the way down. That'll take the pressure off, that'll lift the chamber top up. Never bale like this. If you bundle hay like this, you're never gonna get tight packs. They're gonna be loose, they're gonna be sloppy. So just before you start bundling, always make sure this is all the way up, this lever, bring the chamber top down, and both pins are installed, and both safety clips. So you don't lose the pins, and then you're good to go. So now we're gonna go into loading twine into the twine boxes. To access the twine box, the shield just pops open and lifts up. It's on gas charge lifter, so it lifts up by itself. In the twine box, you see you have room for 8 balls of twine per side. For the bearing to work, we need 4 balls of twine per side. 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top, and every twine ball comes with a spare. So we've got 8,000 feet of twine per needle and 8,000 feet of twine per knotter. So to add twine balls to these, just put them in the twine box, and then you want to tie your spare ball to your primary ball. And the way to do that is find the end. It'll be the closest to the outside of the twine ball, and then find the start. And make a square knot. There's a few different knots on the market. I've kind of learned this trick over the years. So I'll tie both these twines off. Again, and sometimes you got to pull it out so you have enough slack, but I always remember, pull out from the outside of the ball and then tie to the inside of the ball on the spare. Again, tie together with a square knot. So now I've got 8 balls of twine on the side. Again, twine ball 1 feeds the needle and 2 is the spare on each and every one of these. Fact about the twine, most of it will come in 4,000 foot balls. Sometimes you see bigger balls at 6,000, but 4,000 is fairly common. And our range of twine is between 350 and 450 twine in the knot strength. So as long as you're in those parameters, the knotter will tie fine. With 8,000 feet of twine feeding the needles, that's good for 450 bundles, which is a little over 9,000 bales. So that's normally a heavy day, but if you stop for a break or something, not a bad practice to check your twine. And you'll only run out of 1 twine ball at a time. So when this twine ball empties, it's going to spool out of this twine, and you're just going to have a plastic sleeve here. Pull it out, throw a new ball in, tie it off, and carry on. You don't have to run out of twine to restring the twine or to refill the twine. You use twice the amount of twine on the bottom as you do the top. So you're going to go through 2 balls of twine here for every 1 ball on the top. So now that I've loaded the twine balls into the twine box and shown you how to tie them together, we'll take a look inside the machine and just get familiar with the way the twine routes. This twine box swings open. There's a handle inside here. Just push it in, pull the twine box open. You'll see there's a twine threading diagram on the top here. At the first glance, you might think that's a little confusing. Don't worry, you don't have to memorize that to figure out how to route twine. So we'll swing this open and we'll get inside. So you can see you've got 4 needles at the bottom, and each twine runs identical to the one beside it. So if you run out of twine on needle, let's say needle number 1, which is the closest to me, you can look at needle number 2 and see how it's routed. You can see it comes through an insulator, down through a twine tensioner, through a pulley, which we call a slack arm, and then up through the needles. So again, don't stress. If you have a mistie or something and you need to restring the twine, you'll normally have 1 of the 4 you can look at and follow that path. Okay, so moving forward, we're going to get into the program settings and display settings. To get power on at the panel here, if you're hooked up Isobus, you just need to turn the key on your tractor, get it running, and you have power back here. With our display or our control panel, just turn the switch on and you have power back here at the box. With the tractor running, power on. First thing I'll talk about is our keyed switch. If you pull the key, you can't get this to turn into auto or manual mode. And we've got 2 selections on the key. We've got a local selection and a remote selection. And what that means, if it's in local, we can only run it from this panel. We can't run it from the tractor. If it's in remote, it's vice versa. You can only run it from the tractor. You can't run it from the panel here. It's just so we don't have 2 operating stations at the same time. Since we're talking about it at the panel, I'm going to leave that in local. The other selection here is whether you have an Isobus display or you're just running through our cab control without an Isobus display. That's how I have this machine hooked up, so I'd turn this to power box. If you were running on Isobus, you just simply flip this switch. Getting into these programs, selections, first you'll see we've got on the home screen, we've got our message bar, we've got our horizontal stack count here and our vertical stack count here. Any and all messages that come up to do with a bale bearing will be displayed here, whether it's an alarm message, whether it's a command message, and that's all detailed in great detail in the owner's manual, so I'm not going to get into detail here now because I'll be here all day. With the horizontal and vertical stack count, we can adjust these in real time just by pressing on the screen, same with the vertical stack count. That adjusts automatically when the machine's running, so the only time you'd have to change that is when you're in manual mode and you'd put something in manually, which you'd only do if you jammed a long bale or something like that. Again, that's displayed in the tractor and you can adjust it from the Isobus display in the tractor. This is an alarm cancel button, so if you have an alarm screaming away and you want to shut it up, just press that button. Getting into your menu, you have a few selections here. We've got user settings, some factory settings which we won't get into, our input outputs page, counters, and our log. The most important one would be your user settings. Press on that, gives you 5 selections. The first one, not the top left corner, you can see here your bundle size. Right now we have 21 bales per bundle. That's standard, that's factory. We can go in any multiple here. We can go 6, 9, 12, 18, all the way to 24. If you have those selected, you need different end gates. So know what hardware you need, reach out to us. As a standard, most machines will be 21s. We'll leave that on 21. Moving to the right, we have our baler type, whether we're behind an inline baler or a side feed, so a Heston versus New Holland. Choose what you have and select it. If we're following Heston, we're gonna leave that on inline. And that explains why that difference in the manual. I won't get into it now. We can choose to turn our notter sensors on or off. You would leave them on unless you had a mishap alarm you couldn't fix and you just wanted to watch your indicators, then you can turn them off. In your hydraulic flow section, we're on a PDO pump kit on this machine, so I'm gonna leave it on high flow. It changes a setting in the tie cycle, so it speeds it up a little bit. When in doubt, leave it on normal flow because it'll work on normal flow even if you have a high flow machine, where if you're on high flow and you only have 25 gallon per minute, it can slow things down. We've got 2 settings. We've got the injector series and the injector parallel, and that's for the return stroke on the injector. Series is definitely a better setting there. It reduces the risk of pinching bales while the injector is homing. Getting back into our menu, we have an inputs-outputs screen, and that will be a troubleshooting screen. So we can see in real time what limit switches are on or off, and they're lit up green or blank. And you can just scroll through the inputs by pressing more inputs or previous inputs. Here's our notter sensors. We have a sensor on every notter, so we can see that 2, 3, and 4 are on, but 1 is off. That means our flag is up. Hydraulic pressure, hydraulic temperature, and our plunger regen pressure in real time. Moving along, we've got more inputs for all of our safety sensors on the machine. If we go to our outputs page, we get every valve in real time, whether it's on or off. And you can scroll through there. Right now we have no hydraulics to the machine, no valves are on, so everything's blank. Going back into our menu, another cool feature that this screen has is a service log, and it'll tell you every alarm that come up in order for the last 100 alarms. So going through that for diagnostic purposes, you can scroll through and see what's been going on. Lastly, our counters. We have 4 resettable counters that you can turn on and off, pause in real time. So you can keep track of 4 different jobs basically. And just to turn them on or off, you just press on the off, scroll down, press on, or reset it to 0. Going into more counters will tell us our service counter and our lifetime counter. You can't reset this lifetime counter, but you can reset the service counter. So if you wanted to grease an otter every 500,000 bundles, you can reset this, grease it, and keep track. The nice thing about this display is it's extremely user-friendly, so if there's ever anything that's preventing the machine from moving, it's going to tell you right here in this display. If you're in manual mode and you're trying to run a function and it can't, it'll tell you why, and it'll tell you what to do to continue doing that. Function buttons here are also backlit. So right now you can see these 4 are blue. That tells me that the injector is in the down position because it's lit up blue, so that means my injector down limit switches are on as well as my plunger out. If it was the other way, obviously the plunger would be in, the injector would be up. If it's green, that means the function is moving, and so forth. Makes it easier for diagnostics. That covers the basics of the program. Again, it's detailed, much more detail in the owner's manual, and if you ever have any problems, call us and we'll walk you through. So now we've gone through the adjustments and the settings on the bale bearer, and we're ready to start bundling some hay. Some pointers for that: get your tractor going and run your PTO at 1,000 RPM, a full 1,000. Don't cheat on that. Don't try to run at like 750, 800. We got to spin the pump at 1,000 to get that hydraulic flow to the machine, and that's what equals your capacity. A couple of pointers on running the bale bearing. Swing your pickup all the way out, drop it all the way down, and then bring it in about a foot. That allows for adjustment left and right with the machine. Also run the pickup all the way down as far as it goes on its setting. It is a spring-loaded pickup, so if it hits a bump, it'll ride up. It's a floating pickup, but you won't hurt it. If you were in a really rough field where it's bouncing off the rocks all the time, I'd lift it up an inch or 2, but if you're on a fairly relatively level field, leave that all the way down. If you have a newer tractor than this one, you'll probably have a mirror on the right-hand side. Adjust your mirror so it's looking directly at the mouth of the pickup. That allows you to keep maintaining vision forward, looking up in your mirror, and now you can see what's feeding up your chute. As far as ground speed goes, match the ground speed to the capacity of the machine, meaning fill it up, keep it busy. Don't have the bale bearing waiting on bales, but don't push it so hard that you're pushing bales and dragging them along the ground. Try to find that balance, and that's something that'll come to you when you make a couple laps around the field. So I'm going to talk a bit about some benefits that come with the bale bearing. Each brand new bale bearing comes with a spare parts kit and a fully stocked seal kit. And the reason why we do this as a manufacturer is we understand that time is extremely valuable to you guys, and you can't afford downtime. So what we've put together is a bit of what we call a spare parts kit, or a first aid kit, if you will. And in here you'll find things like spare wires for limit switches. You'll find some spare knotter parts. This is a Twine disc. There's some bearings. There's other knotter parts here. Limit switch, some safety sensors, so on and so forth. Just in a pinch, if you blow one of them parts, you need it now, it's with the machine. Also, you'll see there's a sticker here. That's a fully labeled sticker with part numbers and quantities, what's in this box. So if you use something, it's easy to reorder parts from us. You'll see here we have a fully stocked seal kit. This one's a seal kit for 5250, which we're talking about. Inside this kit, you'll find each and every seal kit that's used on this machine. Whether it's for a cylinder, a valve, a fitting connection, they're all in here, and they're fully labeled with a reference on the lid. This wraps up our startup walk around. Now that I've gone through the adjustments and settings you need to know to get started, I want to reiterate our commitment to you, our customer. Feel free to reach out to us at any time with service questions at www.marcrestmfg.com, or call us on the phone at 519-887-9910 with any service, any product support. I want to wish you the best in this coming season, and welcome to the Bale Bearing family.